Many thanks for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. We apologize for starting this segment a little bit late. We did tell you that our guest was caught up in Lagos traffic. You know, a few days to festivities, Lagos will remain Lagos, and you really cannot pinpoint at what point you could be held in traffic. But she's here and will make good use of the little time that we do have left on the program this morning. It's great to have join us on the show Dr. Tolulope Oko-Igaire. She is a couple, sex and mental health therapist. Thank you for being here on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so today we're talking about a very important topic that a lot of people shy away from speaking about, and again, it could also be because of the society, it could be because of cultural reasons, but we do know that we understand the role, of course, the topic we're talking about today plays in every marriage and relationship. This morning we're looking at marriage and the power of intimacy. But let me start this way, and that's where I started from, that oftentimes we shy away from talking about these things. So why? Is it because of our culture, or is it because we see it as bedroom talk that has to remain sacred and shouldn't be spoken about in the open?
I think culture, but I actually think hypocrisy is huge.
Okay.
I feel like we are very hypocritical. Nigerians have a lot of sex, and I mean Google says that, you know, so what we are doing that much, whether we are doing it right or not is another topic. But what matters is that we are doing it, and it's very important. It's something that, so in a lot of cases, I think what we do is just look the other way.
Okay.
Why the problem is there. So I think we are very hypocritical. I think culture is playing a large role, right. And I think religion is massive actually. Right. So religion, culture, and you know, Nigerians just trying to pretend like they don't do it, why they are actually doing it. So I feel that's why we are not talking about it. It's a little bit, it's a delicate topic actually. Is. Even in developed world, they still like, you know, they're a little bit subtle about it to some extent, but not here. It's like we are doing it so much, and we are acting like we are so moralistic, we are so religious, but we are actually far from that.
Okay, really. Right. Okay, since we've set that template as to why we tend to want to shy away from this topic, now let's talk about intimacy itself. A lot of people also think that intimacy really almost all the time has to do with bodily touch or with sex, but break it down. When we say intimacy, what exactly are we talking about, especially in a marriage?
So sex is a huge part of intimacy, but it is just a part of it. You are even looking at emotional connection, you are looking at friendship, you are looking at communication. So intimacy is what happened in the bedroom is just a part of intimacy. Intimacy starts from the way you say good morning. A lot of couples, what they do is probably, that is if they will say good morning if you are not rushing out of the house, you know. But intimacy is you waking up and looking at your partner beside you. Maybe as a man, you are pecking your wife, you know, pecking the forehead of your wife and say, oh good, even whether she's sleeping or not does not matter. Oh, good morning, my angel. I'm so blessed blessed to have you in my life. You just, you know, build a kind of rapport at that moment, like a deeper level of connection. Okay. And it doesn't have to be about sex or all of that. And then emotional connection, it's part of that. I feel like Nigerians struggle with a lot. Right. We struggle a lot when it comes to emotional emotional connection. I feel like the men are not so strong when it comes to emotions, right? And it's not their fault, it's the way they were raised.
Right.
So so in a lot of cases you see a bit of contradiction, because biologically for a woman the brain is saying, I want connection, I want intimacy, I want all of this sweet nothingness. It's beyond money. It's how you I just make my hair, you are looking at me and say, oh, you look beautiful. It is how you show up for me. It's how you support my dream. All of these are part of intimacy, right? So the brain of the woman is looking for all of that, but the cultural conditioning is saying, oh, give me money because your husband has to take care of you. So there's a clash. So sometimes the men are saying, so what are they looking for? What
do they want?
What do they want? You know, I give you money, you're asking for money, I give it to you. Yeah, culturally, psychologically, by conditioning, you want money, but biologically, the hormones are requesting for something more, which is a deeper form of intimacy. So you should be able to give the two, and it's vice versa, right? So you just notice that in terms of intimacy, what is in the head of the man is either I give her money, or when you want to make love, you just jump on her. It's beyond that. It's the way you talk to her, it's the way you look at her, it's the way you show up for her, and vice versa, right? So intimacy is all encompassing, and like I said, sex is just a part of it.
It's just a part of it.
Yeah.
Even before you drew conclusion on your last sentence, you were talking about communication also being a vital tool when it comes to intimacy. There are unspoken words, there are body languages, there are things that you can actually look at yourselves and you're communicating in that way and not really saying what you want to say, but you can understand. So how best is it for couples to actually know themselves to that level where I'm not saying something, but I'm communicating with my partner? It is not a man to woman thing. Now let's talk about both. Yes, and then talk about
so
that.
it's so as much as it's not a gender thing, but it's more difficult for men, right? Because of, and it's like I said, it's not their fault, it's the way they were raised. You know, the conditioning of men, basically in a lot of cases, the emotional side of the man brain in this part of the world is not well developed. That's the truth. No,
in this part of the world, are there researchers to back that up? Because
that narcissism is about lack of development of the emotional side of the brain. Because the time that they were meant to be, you know, a child is saying something is like, okay, let me paint a scenario. You have a boy and a girl. Like the boy fell and the girl fell and everybody is saying, oh, angel, sorry, don't stain yourself, and she's crying, everybody is petting her. And maybe the boy in his house, nobody has ever said, oh, my handsome boy, you are doing well. Nobody. And then he looked at the way everybody was just
running over the girl,
running around the girl, and you're like, okay, maybe I should fall. You know, in his little brain, maybe I'm going to get something like that. And then he fell, and then the next thing he's hearing, and he wants to be crying. They're like, like, are you okay? But you're a boy. Why a man be crying? Let me be a man. Come on, stand up. In his little brain, there is confusion. There is, why are they nice to her? Why are they doing that to me? And he began to. And now, in this case, we don't even explain. That's even another problem with African parenting. You know, we don't explain. So the child is trying to figure it, and you feel like, okay, for you to be a man,
you have to just
you cannot cry. It means that nobody is going to pet you. Nobody is going. So he doesn't know how to receive all of those kind of emotions, and he doesn't know how to give it back. So that's why it's more difficult for men. So as much as this is not a gender thing, it's more difficult for men by virtue of the upbringing, conditioning, and parenting, and culture as well. So the question is about communication. So you can't get, if you cannot get to the point where you can read the unspoken words, you can't have deeper intimacy. You cannot. You need to understand yourself to that level. But I think the problem with a lot of couples is you are trying to change somebody. You met a man at 20 or a woman at 22 or something, and then you want to say, oh, why can't you just do it? Like, you are trying to
it's not
form
possible.
The person.
That person is formed already.
It's formed. The brain is no longer plastic. It cannot accept information so easily.
But can there be a shift?
Yes, there can be a shift. Now, what we do in therapy is what I call, and it's an intervention that is called effort and acceptance. Okay. Effort is the person that needs to change. But what makes this difficult is in a lot of cases, the person that needs to change does not even realize that I need to change.
The person doesn't even realize I'm doing something bad.
He doesn't know.
Okay.
That is where, in fact, that is where therapy comes in.
Okay.
Now, in a lot of cases, if you are telling the person is looking at you like what's
what does it mean?
Because there is no information in his brain to process what you are giving. Everything that if you look at, if we look at color white and red, and we say, oh, red is more beautiful than white. How did you come to that conclusion? It's because we already have a programmed information about colors in our brain, right? So you don't just wake up and try to change. It doesn't have substance to process what you are trying to tell him or her, right? So if you are trying to say, why, sometimes couples could be so frustrated because you're like, why can't she see? She cannot see because nothing
she doesn't
to
even
process.
Understand that.
She doesn't understand. So at that point, it might be very difficult to try to make them see, and that is where therapy comes in.
Right.
But if you can get to the point of making them see, that is, if you cross that hurdle, then you now move to the point of, okay, now that I know I have a problem, I need to work on it. Because you can never help me to work on it. You can't change me. I am the one that needs to make effort to work on myself. So
maybe not to change, but at least to make effort is the word, right?
And then the partner now accept. So I don't like that part of you, but I'm going to accept you like that, knowing that you're making
going to work on it.
An effort.
Right. So from how you've explained, and now we do know that intimacy is a very vital part of marriage. Are there levels? Do you graduate from one level of intimacy to another? Talking about long-term marriage now, because again, sometimes you hear things like midlife crisis in a marriage, and then you're wondering, but we were not like this before. We were close before. We understood ourselves before. So what went wrong? So if we look at, as you stay together for longer periods, what do you need to? What are the common mistakes? Let me put it that way, that couples make that make a mar their level of intimacy.
So I feel like there's this common international perception about Nigerians that we are very resilient, right? I feel like our resilience is laced with trauma. So did you know that level of resilience that makes you to just want to hustle and hustle and hustle, even if it's going against your mental health, it's going against moral, it's going against, that is a huge part of this question. Because people get into marriage and the next thing they are thinking is, we need to make money, we need to buy land, we need to buy house, and then they are moving, they are staying, you are thinking of, let's just, you stay in one room. If you have a one room that is, I don't know, one room, we don't think like that. You have a room that is comfortable, that you can come in and sleep. It's better than, we want to stay in an uncompleted building. How do you make love in an uncompleted, in all those, so I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
So we just get to this point where we just hustle, and all we think about school fees, land, car, property, house, families, and then you forget the two of you. So when couples come to me, the first thing, in a lot of cases, I tell my couples, especially for premarital couples, I tell them, you have to name your bond. That thing that the two of you share that you don't share with any other person, give it a name. So whenever the world is crumbling, it does not matter. You are looking for kids, you are looking for money, whatever. You need to keep coming back to that bond and deliberately nurture it. So there must be conscious, consistent, deliberate effort to nurture your bond. If you don't, you are just going to be carried away with all of the hustling and
life itself.
Before you know it, they become co-tenants. Co-tenants, all they now discuss, or business partner, all they discuss is money, children, and what about us? What about I miss you, I love you? What about pecking, necking, holding? Oh, where are you? What about sending romantic text messages? All of those we don't do anymore because we are so much, bothered about of life and hustling and all of that.
Right. So I mean, from what you've said now, again, aside naming, your common bond, which of course would always be what you would come back to, how can couples rediscover themselves? Because again, therapy is one thing that a lot of people are not open to. Maybe it's getting better.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel, no, it's a problem. Why share with someone else?
Yeah.
So again, before we get to asking for help outside, what are little efforts that both partners can make to rediscover themselves?
Yeah, that's a very good question, but I will still go back to that therapy because I feel, and then I will come back to it. Now, I feel like they are the way couples are in Nigeria, I see a lot of couples. Yeah,
definitely.
The way couples are in Nigeria, they get to a point where they just develop resentment for each other. So
is that normal?
Very common.
Quite common.
Very common in Nigeria. So they just resent their partners and they are just living in that marriage. So the man is doing his thing, the woman is doing her thing, and then they are just there so that the world will not laugh at them, so that the church will not say, oh, So because of that, so that resentment is very difficult to do a kind of hard reset and say, let's start today. Let's just list. I will list all of those things that you could do, but if you just wake up and say, let us go back to where we are coming from, it's difficult.
Right.
Because a lot of things
yes.
Now when couples come to therapy, when at the early stage of my practice, I see my couples together, and because I did study here, and they will just tell you, like, in the Western world, like, as a marriage counselor, see your couples together so you can understand the dynamics, the power dynamics, all of that, and makes sense. But I was struggling. I did, like 50 years ago in my practice, I was struggling until I went for a particular training, and we're talking about patriarchy and cultural. You need to be culturally sensitive as a marriage counselor. I tell you, since then, I don't bring my couples together. I must see you separately before bringing you together.
So you hear from this person unhindered,
when
you hear from this person.
When you bring them, especially women, when you bring them and you are talking to them, when they sit on your couch and they'll be like, where do I start from? And then when you listen to all of the things that they are saying, you are wondering, why are you still here? Like, this person can actually poison this person if he has the opportunity. And a lot of marriages are like that.
Wow.
So yeah, so it makes it so that taking it from that level to, okay, what should we do? It's difficult because it's like a kind of hard reset. But with therapy, you can pour your heart. We can pick all of those issues one by one and then resolve them. But what are the things, especially if you are young and you are just coming up, before you get to that place where it's so bad, before you get to that point, like what I said earlier, about making deliberate conscious efforts. Like, you need to analyze, you need to wake up every day and analyze your marriage. What have I done for my marriage today? What have I done for my marriage in the last 1 week? What have I done for my marriage in the last 1 month? In the last 1 year? You need to have it every day. This is the investment I'll make in my bond, in this marriage, not on children, not on house.
So when you say marriage, between my husband and I, between my wife and I,
this is investment I'm going to be making on a daily basis. This is the investment I'm going to be making on a weekly basis, monthly and yearly. You need to have that, and then you need to be able to sit back and look at your marriage. For some of us, we just expect marriage to take care of itself. It won't happen.
So you need to nurture.
You need to nurture. It will not happen. You need to nurture. You need to sit back and like, so what are we doing wrong? What can I do better? You need to be creative, actually. You need to be creative as to taking care of your partner. I mean, we do all of these things before we get married, and then we now get married, and then we just like, there's no need to send text messages. It's only
you're getting used to one another.
That's familiarity.
Yes, and then
you just like, she's always there. Even I mean, we say this a lot of time. Women, you just stop, like, you tie wrapper in the house because you feel like you need to make, like I said, it's all about effort, deliberate, consistent, conscious effort. You have to be consciously investing, strategizing the way you do in your office. If you want to get promoted, you don't wake up and say, it's raining today, weather for 2, I don't want to go to work. If you continue like that, nobody is going to take you seriously. You wake up, you show up, you think of what you could do to make your business grow, to make you get promoted in your workplace. The same thing in your marriage. You do all of that. So at the end of the day, you notice that you grow like this, and then you leave your marriage behind.
Right.
Because you are not investing, you are expecting it. If you don't invest in your job or in your business, it won't grow.
Right.
So why are you doing that for every other aspect of your life? And then you think the marriage will take care of itself? No, you have to deliberately invest in emotional connection, invest in intimacy, invest in communication, invest in showing up and you know, saying nice things and sending gifts to your partner.
Okay.
All of these things are things
So
that should
is
be
intimacy
done.
misunderstood as a word or as an action, you know, in every marriage? Because again, sometimes just like that's where I started from. Sometimes people just think that intimacy is about, you know, bodily contact or, you know, having sex or, you know, sleeping with one another. But you've explained here that it's beyond that.
Right.
But do people really understand the concept of intimacy in a marriage and how much it is a connector to other factors in every home?
I doubt if they do. Like, I mean, like I said, describing our men in the first place, I like to say, Odogu does not, Odogu just want to give money. Odogu, what do you need? Give money. What is all the sweet nothingness? That's what I like to call it. Sweet nothingness.
And that's what the women are looking for.
That's what the women are looking for. And again, even for the women, the men too. You know, sometimes we just feel like,
but men love to be pampered.
Yes, we say like, he's strong, he's everything. Nobody is checking on him. He's carrying so much burden, so much responsibility. The society is placing, the family, the religious places is placing a lot of responsibility on the men, and then we still expect them to be able to do everything. You know, so nobody is looking at the man and say, babe, can you just lie down today? Let me give you a massage. You know, these are simple gestures that you can actually give to your partner. So yeah, I think people are getting it wrong when it comes to intimacy, but I also think it's more common with men.
Okay.
Because men, even when it comes to the physical intimacy, it is not open and jumping.
Right.
That doesn't work for
steps
it doesn't work for women. When you keep doing open and jumping, the woman is in fact, one of the major things that create resentment for couple is sex.
Right.
Every time the woman keep doing it for you, the resentment is growing. She's feeling used. She's feeling like a slave. She's feeling like, why can't I get something out of this? I don't want it. I'm not getting anything. I still have to do it. That thing is a major cause of resentment among couples. So I feel like the lack of understanding of intimacy, even around physical intimacy, is huge. And then in every other aspect, there are couples who are not having sex and they can have a brilliant and beautiful marriage. It's possible.
It is quite possible.
It is quite possible. It's difficult, but it's possible if there is understanding. I mean, it's not penetration is just
one of those issues.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the role of the society again, because we've said we are a cultural society. Our faith also plays a pivotal role when it comes to issues like this. But how can the churches, the mosques, the society, the NGOs, how can they help to again start giving such conversations a bite so that people can begin to seek for help when necessary and not die in silence?
Thank you. That's actually a very good question, and I say I used to be very subtle about it, but now I am saying it boldly that, you know, our religious organizations need to do better, because that is they are the first responders.
Right.
Yeah, everybody just feel like, you know what, you have a problem, talk to your imam or you talk to your pastor. That's the first thing that comes to mind. And then when the pastor is not equipped with the skills to help you, right? I have so many issues, so many actually, of couples that are saying, oh, it's because the marriage counselor in the church said this. It's because the marriage counselor, when they wanted to get married, you are telling the woman, anytime he wants it, just give it to him. Just give it to him. What about her? And then she gets to the marriage and she's giving it to him. After some time, she's developing resentment because she's asking, why am I doing
what
this?
Exactly is
right?
This about?
So I think our religious organizations, the NGOs, the first responders, they need to get trained.
Okay.
Our mental health as Africans, you know, in shambles. we are such a traumatized set of people that, and it's all based on the background, the parenting, the environment. It's rooted in culture. You can actually even separate trauma from our culture, right? Because so you see, children, the way our children, I tell you, the way children are raised here.
Right.
I know that the Western world or developed, they
also have their own issues.
Yeah, but you see, when it comes to stages of development, there are ways children are meant to develop. Africans, Nigerian children, we develop wrongly. The brain are given what the brain does not have capacity to take. Like, how do you tell a 10-year-old that, okay, go and do, you send a 10-year-old to go and do what, boy? And then the child is there and sleeping in the kitchen at 10 because he's working to raise money for the family, to raise children that he did not bring to this world. Right. And then you are seeing that child sleeping in the kitchen, and he's seeing the boss's children of his own age entering into SUV and driving to school. You think that child is going to be normal? If you get married to that man, that child, when he becomes a man, you get married, you are in trouble. And that is the reality of what we're saying. And that is just one part of a lot of these issues. Now, so you are looking at this, and then you are having a religious organization or first responders or NGOs that are just sitting there and say, oh yeah, you don't do it again. Oh yeah, you don't do that. Yeah, need that. Beg your husband, go home. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than how do you say go home, beg your husband, hug each other to a man who is narcissistic, or to a man who have Othello syndrome, or to a woman who can never do wrong, who is always right? How do you say you need to go deeper and find out what is called psychoanalysis or psychodynamics in counseling? And what I will just drive at is, please, I run the Chartered Institute of Counseling in Nigeria. I always say this: get trained. These people, train them. Don't, even if it's certificates in counseling, let them understand basic knowledge of how to read human behavior, how to recondition, in fact, simple cognitive behavioral therapy. Right. Okay, but
we need to go. But before we go, you've talked about the facts that the religious organizations have a huge role to play here. But again, I'd like for you to, as we close, also direct your appeal to parents this morning, because it also starts from the homes. How should we begin to inculcate, such into our children when raising our children? Because we do know that as we raise them, we're also, getting them ready for the future. So if we do not start now, how then are we preparing them for a future?
Beautiful question. So parenting, everything we are talking about, everything about mental health is parenting. In fact, the religious organizations, the NGOs, they are dealing with people that are already made, they are grown. So that's why they need to understand how to deal with it. But the person that could modify the behavior from young age are the parents. Right. Parenting is everything. And if we don't get it right with parenting in Nigeria, we're actually going nowhere. But the thing is, you can't actually do better than who you are.
You can't give what you don't have.
You cannot give. You can't do. So parents need to be aware. The parenting need to be taught. I don't even know how we are going to get around that. When people come to the institute, women, when they come to the institute to train, especially we have a lot of grandmothers, a lot of people will break down and start crying. In fact, a lot of people call family meeting and tell their children, I'm sorry. And then they will like, I will do better with my grandchildren. Right. Because they are now seeing all the lapses and be like, I wish I'd known this. Sincerely, parenting, everything is centered around parenting. I don't know how, because the thing is, you can't do better than your parents actually. So you are going to be parenting in response to your trauma, because you are not even aware. It's sitting in your subconscious directing you. Right. So it's either you are like your mom, or you say, I'm not like my mom. You are like her. It's either you are trying hard not to be like her, or you are trying hard to be.
Right.
So understand that. So parenting is everything. I would just encourage maybe more training on parenting. Parents just need to be aware, and
parents also need to get themselves involved in getting training. This information. Because I mean, we will not go to the homes to pick them. They have to look for this information.
That's where the problem starts
from. We'll have to leave this conversation here this morning. Hopefully we'll have you back again sometime soon to help us again continue from where we've stopped today. Thank you so much, Dr. Tolulope Oko-Igaire, couple sex and mental health therapist, for finding time to be with us this morning. Thank you so much for coming. That's the much we'll take on this segment of the program today. We'll take a quick break. When we return, Adebingbe and Joy will be here with their Lagos conversation.